Hello, and I am here today with Mac Barnett and Shawn Harris, and I am so excited. Hello, guys.
Hey, we're excited too. I'm Mac, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm Shawn, by the way.
Process of elimination. It works every time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. So we're here to talk about Polar Bear in the Snow. Wonderful book, very mysterious.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about the genesis of this book. How did this book come to be?
Sure, yeah. So, I mean, you might not know this, but most of the time with picture books, it's the author. Oh my goodness, do you hear that saw going on right outside my house? Did that just pick up?
No, I don't. I think that saw is something in your own imagination, and that's great.
Okay, because I can move into a different room if you can.
No, that's fine.
Sounds
That's
good.
fine.
Okay, so most of the time when authors and illustrators are working on a picture book, they don't talk to each other. They don't even know each other. But that's not the case here. Shawn and I have actually been friends since 1989.
Wow. Preschool?
Here's your visual accompaniment.
It is preschool. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's us on a soccer team together. We were on the Castro Valley Thunderbolts. We were not champions.
Did you have fun? That's all that matters.
We didn't even have fun, to be honest.
Oh.
Yeah, we were not.
But
the
you
best,
made friends. You made friends.
There you go. And eventually those friends made a book. So
Thank you for that origin
all of
story.
you kids despairing through organized sports.
To become artists and authors, which is the goal, right? The end goal. Do you get what I did there with goal soccer?
Yeah.
Oh,
hey.
yeah.
Oh, hey. Yeah. So Shawn was over at my house and we were talking about books. He was actually going over proofs for another picture book that he made. So he was looking at just to make sure that everything was printed right. I'm gonna throw it over to Shawn now because it's his story.
He's not working hard.
Yeah. Let me see. Hold on. I'm trying to get a flashlight up on my. No, it's not gonna work. Okay, it's okay. Yeah, I was looking at some proofs, and there was a section of a collage that I did that printed with a shadow. I think it was coming unstuck from the page a little bit when I took the photograph for that other book. That wasn't what I was trying to do with that book, but I thought that the section with the shadow looked so interesting. I didn't draw any lines, but the shadow, the light and shadow made this really bold, stark edge of a shape. And I was talking to Mac and I was like, see this right here? Like, what if I did a whole book where I didn't draw any lines? I barely paint anything. And I just have light define the edges of shapes that I make with cut paper. So I started experimenting with some cut paper that was monochromatic. And then of course, once I start playing with monochromatic shapes, I'm seeing the Arctic and all these textures, and I'm playing with papers, and I asked Mac, what I think you know that old joke, a polar bear in the snow, like how do you draw a polar bear in the snow, and then you just draw like 3 dots, the nose and the eyes. It's kind of like an illustrator's kind of anti-drawing a little bit. And I was like, you know that thing, do you ever see that thing when an adult plays this joke, like they're gonna do an amazing drawing? Like what if we did some amazing drawings, but that's the only ink that I include, and the rest of the drawing is defined by paper. And yeah.
And I really love that, both as sort of like a concept for illustration. I thought it was really cool to have like white paper on top of white paper and kind of picking out all the variety and gradations you could get with light and shadow and even color there, which was so similar to how life works in the Arctic for both the landscape and so many animals who are adapted to that habitat. And that line of the polar bear in the snow was both, it's funny, right? It's part of this punchline, but there was a poetry to it too. So I started thinking about it, and sort of by thinking about the set of images that would start off the book. So I'll read you just the start. So it says, There is a polar bear in the snow. Still asleep, he lifts his nose to sniff the air. And he awakens. And that was sort of the first thing that came to me. And I love this sort of progression. Picture books are so much about page turns and developing surprises over page turns. So first we start with this joke, right? The polar bear in the snow as invisible. But then you start to develop suspense. You get this nose, you start to see the polar bear emerge. And now we meet our main character. And I just love that reveal, that it just builds into this moment that I think establishes this emotional connection to this animal. And after that, we watch the polar bear start to move. There is a polar bear in the snow. Where is he going? And that's sort of the central question of this book. I know, Ellen, you said it's mysterious, and it is a mystery, this book. That's one of the sort of genres I think it inhabits, which, you know, you're just wondering this whole time. We're sort of giving red herrings and clues. We're constantly asking the audience to guess where this polar bear is going. And through doing that, we learn a little bit about polar bears, what they eat, how they're adapted to their habitat. And when we get our solution to where the polar bear is going, it is, I think it has that climactic energy that you get when a solution is revealed in a mystery plot.
Oh, it's very satisfying, I have to say.
I'm glad.
It's just such a perfect picture book. And also I love, Mac, how your, I don't want to say trademark humor, but you always bring this, almost sly humor to everything, which makes it.
Mac, you should trademark that.
You should trademark that. Yes, you should.
Yeah.
My humor is Mac Barnett. It's something that I think that is a reward for the parent who's reading the book too, and that's always nice to have. One thing that's really fascinating about this book is that you both are working with such limited palettes, if you will, and Mac with the words, and you with your and it seems like, it's just like with a sonnet, you know, when you limit yourself, sometimes that frees you to create the most beautiful, most breathtaking, most imaginative art. So can you talk a little bit about that process, about how limitations for you?
Yeah, I think we are really interested in minimalism here, and how much we can get out of minimalism. If I show off a piece of art that Shawn did here, right? This is all white paper, and look at the complexity with just one color of paper, but arranging it in certain ways, varying depth and light. And by limiting himself to just something that we all have in our houses, right? White paper, we actually get all this depth, all this complexity out of that. And I wanted to match that with the words, keep the language very simple, the sentences really short, but have those things imbued with mystery and also wonder. That is sort of, I think the Arctic has that for sure. It's a spare place, but with a lot of complexity. And I think encounters with nature often have that too. Just that idea of the sublime, of a small moment that has sort of like big and soulful repercussions.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I also think there's an approachability and accessibility to this style of art. So Mac, I could see how kids could try to create their own cut paper art using this as inspiration. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Shawn has been like working on all kinds of it. We think that, we really hope that this becomes inspiring to kids to do art in their classroom. And I know Shawn's been thinking a little bit about that.
So Shawn, what would you suggest to teachers and how they could use this book in the classroom?
Yeah, I mean, I really like making books with materials that kids have on hand. You know, whether it be cut paper or colored pencil or that kind of thing. You know, I want to do a book with crayons at some point. I like using those materials that are accessible in classrooms and at home. And yeah, with just like pieces of computer paper, you can create all this stuff. The interesting thing, I guess a challenge or an art project that I could dole out here is to make a monochromatic collage. Use just white paper, or you can do a different environment altogether. You can use just blue paper, and maybe that's an undersea image. You can use just green, and maybe you're in the depth of a jungle, or just black, and maybe you're in the depths of the earth, or in the night. It's really fun working with monochromatic shapes, because you start to see things in the shapes that just this nice environment that happens when light hits the image. And you can move the image around. Like, I'll just show you right here. Like, I can move this image around, and you'll see different things when the light hits it in different ways. And from some angles, it's almost invisible what I've done, and then from some angles, it's very apparent. And actually, I had some gels that I was putting over my lights when I was shooting this book. You can kind of see here, but this is a blue gel.
Yeah.
And I held that over the light. And actually, when the polar bear goes underwater in this book, sorry, spoilers, when he goes underwater in this book, you're still looking at all white paper in the book. And I just changed the color of the light to change the mood of the illustrations.
You brought in some theater there.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the fun thing about working in collage is also you can move your characters around. You can make like somewhere between a diorama and a cartoon. You don't have to glue your characters down. You can move them around your landscapes. And actually, I was doing that for a lot of this book. I was just making these Arctic landscapes and just moving a polar bear kind of from right to left as you see him walk through the book. That's how I was figuring out how to compose the book, and having a lot of fun with lighting that like it's this Arctic theater. Yeah.
Well, I can promise I will never think about polar bears in the snow in quite the same way again. So, so much. And thanks for taking time out of your really busy day for this. Again, we're talking to Mac Barnett and Shawn Harris, A Polar Bear in the Snow, published by Candlewick. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, and thanks for sharing our book out there. We really appreciate it. We hope it goes well. We wanted it to be a great read aloud, so we hope you have fun with it. Thanks for sharing it.